This is another new Black World Order TV Productions. Chopper. What's happening, family? Let's get it in. As I promised to come forward with the breakdown, right, of the press conference that happened November the 16th in Washington, D.C., right? Minister Louis Farrakhan's warning and address to the Trump administration, right? The third part, right, is a follow-up to the first two parts of this four-part series, right? The first part was the full gospel. The second part was divine love, right? And so our third subject, or our third part of this breakdown press conference is root down, root up, right? We know that in order to have roots, a root starts from a seed, right? It's the point of origin. And that's what we're getting at with this series of subjects focusing on the NOI. Right? We're trying to get to the seed. We're trying to get to the root of who's behind, right, some of these things that's going on. So this one is going to get quite interesting. It's going to be a powerful question asked in this seventh part, right? Because you know it's 4 parts, 7 points, right? And point 6 of these 7 points is going to be a powerful question as it relates to the seed, it relates to the roots, right? The roots. They go back and tell us, right, the point of origin of who created this organization, right? So let's get it in. Minister Louis Farrakhan, if you go look at the speech on the net, brother Ben X channel or whatever, that press conference is there, the full part, and you'll see where he mentioned about him working underground before he surfaced right into the public's view, into the international stage, right? He talked about a root down, right, and a root up, right? The roots, the seed, right, is going to manifest what comes up, right? And so there's a part about this that we're going to go into, as I said before, the 6th point of these 7 points to this breakdown. This is part 3 again. I want to start by saying that I have a great respect for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, affectionately termed the Messenger of Allah. I also have a great respect for Minister Louis Farrakhan. In the work that both of those men did is just about unequal. We never have seen the likes of it since the time of Marcus Mosiah Garvey and the United Negro Improvement Association. Right? So let's get that clear. Let's state that for the record. This is not a personal attack on Minister Louis Farrakhan, but this is an attack or a diatribe on the teachings, the founder, Master Farah Muhammad's teaching. This is not personal. This is teachings. This is a dialogue that I want to bring about. So a root down and a root up. Minister also mentioned the word seed when talking about this, and as before, we know that S is a 19, E is a 5, E is a 5, and D is a 4, bringing us to the grand total of 33. We also know that the abbreviation for mountain, the abbreviation for Muhammad's temple, the abbreviation for Masonic temple, Moorish temple is also MT. The abbreviation for mountain, right, is MT. And M is the 13th alphabet. T is the 20th, bringing us to a grand total of 33. So he mentioned seed. He mentioned the roots that go down and how they come up. Right. So now let's get it in. Who planted this seed? So the 7 points I'm going to make, right, is about, right, when the Newark speech, it was the 22nd anniversary of the Million Man March, right, where he talked about he was going to have a press conference, to which we're breaking that down to. So number 1, right, right, relates to that number 22, that 22nd anniversary of the Million Man March. Those three M's: Modern Masonic Movement, Moorish Masonic Movement, Million Man March. Right. So number one is the phrase 22 paths. Right. This seed seems to take a lot of paths. Right. Or a lot of paths seem to always connect and resonate and synchronize with that seed number. It takes us right back to that seed number every time, because it appears that they created subordinate organizations, right? Babies, right? Baby organizations that subordinate to that mother organization that's dealing with the planting of that seed, the mothering of that seed, the nurturing of that seed. We're talking about the microsymbionts underneath the ground, right? The roots, right? So those 22 paths, right? That statement, if you take the letters, 22 paths, it brings us to a grand total of 229, right? In talking about 22, or the 22nd anniversary of the Million Man March, if we take the name, the first name, Louis, of Louis Farrakhan, and we put it in the full reduction gematria, that's not simple English gematria. It's when reduces when you take the letters that are double digits and you make one digit by command, adding those two numbers together. So L is a 12, it would be a 3, right? And O is a 15, it will become a 6. And U is a 21, it will become a 3. And the S will become a reduced number, also bringing us to a grand total of 22. Louis, 22. Our first point, 22 paths. About a press conference that was promoted at the 22nd anniversary of the Million Man March. Those 3 M's, right? Those 3 M's, right? Just like 3M says, you know, they don't operate a lot of the things that you vow make. They make them better, right? And then, you know, the famous statement, we make good men better. We know where that comes from. So that seed, right? That mountain, right? Those 22 paths, right? So our second point of the 7 points, because each breakdown has 4 parts, 7 points, right? So our second point is the 4 gospels, right? Talking about that full gospel. Ironically, Minister Louis Farrakhan, tying into your words, root down, root up, just like 22 paths add up to 229. Right? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and the John, right? Those 4 names add up to 229. So just like number 1 links to the root down, root up, the 22 paths, right? There are 22 Hebrew alphabets, right? To which they say Matthew, Luke, and John spoke Hebrew. Right? There are 22 amino acids in the DNA situation, right? There are 22 Hebrew alphabets. So number 1, 22 paths. If we take the letters for 22 paths, it adds up to 229, right? And our second point, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. If we take the letters for those 4 names, it also adds up to 229, right? So they use Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, who are supposed to be Hebrew Israelites, right? That spoke the 22 Hebrew alphabets, right? That were led by those 22 paths and that full gospel, right? That just about laid our people out, like I said before, and I don't understand why would you want us to have that full gospel. Just 33% of that full gospel fucked us up. If we had got the full dose of that poison book, we would have been literally at a point of no return. So, our second point, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. The letters for those names, if you add them up in the simple English gematria chart, brings us to a total, ironically again, to 229. The number we got from a root down, root up. If you take the letters for root down, root up, it brings you to the same number, 229, right? Our third point, right? Sermon on the Mount. There's your man, Jesus on the Mount again, hanging out with the mountain boys, those goat boys, because the goat dwells high up on a mountain, right? And MT, that 13th alphabet is an M, that 20th alphabet is a T, brings us to the grand total of 33. So here we have now, right, the man that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John followed, Jesus Christ, giving us a sermon on the Mount. If we take the letters for Sermon on the Mount, it brings us again to the number 229. What's that, Minister Louis Farrakhan? So, our fourth point, right? Those 22 paths that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in that Sermon on the Mount produced for us the Stockholm Syndrome. Right? They use the story, the imagination, and the pictures painted, right, of hell to trap us within those religions, right? And kept us there. And whenever challenged about it, just like someone who's a victim of kidnapping, etc., you begin to defend your captors because you're captured by the code. You're captured by the code makers who created and cast a spell on you through religion, right? I'll root down, I'll root up. Sermon on the Mount 229, right? And don't forget, 22 paths is 229. Matthew, Luke, and John is 229. Sermon on the Mount 229. And Stockholm Syndrome is also 229, right? And these religions, as I said just now, produce for us the identical environment where Stockholm Syndrome takes place in the mind, right? So we found the information that's hidden right in plain sight by examining words and numbers through this system, right, called gematria, right, where they take numbers and merge them into words. So our fifth point is numbers into words. If you take the letters numbers into words and add them up, by gosh, Wally G, it comes to 229 again, right? So our fifth point, numbers into words, brings us to our 6 points where I have to ask the question, right? About a root down, about a root up. Our 6 point is destruction ritual, right? If you take the letters for destruction ritual, you get 229. And what I want to talk about, right, this destruction ritual, it made me think of something. I remember the minister talking about when he was explaining the mothership being clocked at 9,000 miles per hour and how the scientists, the holy angels are upon the mother wheel and that they're going to build a wall, right, from the south and from the north. right? A wall is going to be built on the south border of the United States, and a wall is going to be built on the northern border of the United States. And this is a prophetic statement made in the past. And they say how you tell a prophet is by what they say come to pass. Something is wrong here. I don't see scientists building a wall on the border of Mexico. I don't see the scientists proposing to build a wall on the border of Mexico or the border of Canada, the northern border. But what I do see is that Donald Trump is building a wall to the south. And they're also proposing to build a wall to the south, to the north, right? And all of the people telling me is that the United States is trying to trap us within the country. Well, this fits within your prophecy about the scientists, right, building a wall to the south of us and to the north of us to wall us in for destruction. Right? When the mother wheel comes through and drop 3 bombs, right? Burrowing down a mile deep and pushing a mountain up a mile high, right? This mother wheel, that's a half a mile by a half a mile, right? The scientists on it is going to build a wall to wall us into America. But the only people I see today here in 2017 attempting to build a wall to the south of us is the Trump administration. To whom you were warning that the mother wheel was coming to build a wall, but he's already building the wall. So you're going to have to explain to me this destruction ritual with the mother wheel, with Trump, with the southern border and the northern border. So again, right, if we take the letters for destruction ritual and add it up, it comes to 229. And don't forget to address this wall to the north and this wall to the south. I'm not sorry for asking the question, and that brings me to my 7th point. If you take the words, you are not sorry, those 4 words, right? You are not sorry. Because basically, I've already broke down who created this God for you, right? Yeah, God is a man, or it's a group of men. But it's not the damn people that you're telling us about. It is these curve and corner guys. Right? It is these square and circle boys, right? It is these people in Washington, D.C., the real capital of Jerusalem, right? Jerusalem, 9 letters. And if you take the 4th, 5th, and 6th letter, it's USA. So now tell them you're not sorry. Give them that God back. This is not yours, right? It's just simply not yours. Take the God, right? And just give them the whole shit back. That's what I did. I took the shit, threw it in the trash can, gave the whole God back. When I realized that the same people that created the chaos is now creating a solution through these religions, right? To, at the end of the day, remain our masters if we bow down to these religions. So I'm saying, give the God back and tell them you're not sorry, right? So this is the 3rd part, the breakdown to the Minister Louis Farrakhan speech in Washington, D.C., his warning in his address to the Trump administration, right? This is part 3, titled Root Down, Root Up. And we got the number 229 from that. He also mentioned seed again. And we know that S is a 19, E is a 5, E is a 5, D is a 4, and that brings us to the grand total of 33. We went through the 7 points, 22 paths. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Sermon on the Mount, Stockholm Syndrome, numbers into words, destruction ritual, and you are not sorry. These 7 points, right, of this part 3 breakdown, to which I have 4 parts to the breakdown. Coming soon, part 4, and part 4 will be titled The Prolong, right? Because remember, the minister said this is a prolonged press conference. And there's a lot of things that's been prolonged. And in this next final breakdown of the Minister Louis Farrakhan's press conference, November the 16th in Washington, D.C., I'm going to talk about the death plot. I'm literally going to talk about the death plot. And 2018 has some interesting things coming up. And you could beat that plot, but you're going to have to pay attention to certain dates I give you. Peace. This has been another New Black World Order TV Productions. And don't forget, I got much love for my brothers and sisters.